No matter what happens on the 1st of August, South Africa will have a reset relationship with the United States. So says the Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition. South Africa acknowledging the current impasse with the US over trade and tariffs. And Park Stow says it's a fundamental reset of the relationship. What South Africa will not do is retaliate with retaliatory tariffs. Also, the South African government saying there's no intention of distancing itself from the US. It's part of a broader global US efforts to finalize negotiations. 185 countries, not just South Africa, 185 countries, including Brazil, slapped with a 50% tariffs because Donald Trump wants Jair Bolsonaro to be able to run for president. Again, even though he's been convicted, he wants his COVID buddy back in politics, and the Brazilian government is saying no. And so therefore, 50% tariff for you, Brazil. But where will it impact on the South African economy, particularly our agricultural sector? The US accounts for about 4% of South Africa's total agricultural exports. It's valued at about 488 million US dollars, but there are key commodities that are highly exposed. We send 7 million cartons of citrus to the US. If tariffs are included, the US market could maybe look for cheaper places. Chile, maybe even Peru. It's also our wine industry that may suffer. We're talking about tens, if not hundreds of thousands of jobs in the sector that could be impacted. Joining me now, Johann Kotze, CEO of Agri SA. Johann, what does this mean when the DTIC says a reset is unavoidable? How is the agricultural sector bracing for the 1st of October, 1st of August rather? Zane Dango, the DG for international relations, says the US-SA government still in an embargoed period, which means they're still negotiating. But what are you expecting? How are you bracing for August 1st, Johann?
So this is not new to us. It's quite a while that we kind of know about this. We had a long chat yesterday also with the US Embassy regarding this. And I think the first thing is you said a reset. We needed to have a reset. We knew that a reset is going to come. How it's going to look like all the odds and ends looks like we're going to stay at 30%. I think we hope not to go higher than that. And I think then the hope to a certain extent is to see if you can do a different deal than the AGO deal that we have, and even the 30% deal. And that there would be, I would say, an openness to negotiate. What is concerning is they have their minds on one or two things specific in agriculture, and they stick to their guns, which is a difficult one for us to swallow as South Africans. So I think from an agriculture point of view, we also need to be clever, not to let go and give in on specifically the SPS issues, and then eventually we might have a better case now, but long term you actually you defaulted yourself. And so I think it's a concern to us. However, I think DTIC knows it. Minister of Agriculture is well aware of that, and I think there's a push from our side to say, can we just keep our stance on SPS specifically?
Yeah, you've called for a more pragmatic trade strategy from DTIC and the South African government. Where do you think government has fallen short so far in negotiations?
Lester, I think social media spoke a lot about this, and I think there was a bit of unfairness to this. From the day that we knew about this, DTIC specifically put a lot of effort into this. And I think there's a lot of good communications from us as agriculture, specifically with DTIC regarding this. I think you also need to understand, you just said it's 185 countries. We're standing in a queue here. And it's not easy to negotiate with America. We're small in what we do. They are bullish and big. So you need to be clever in the way you box. So my take is I don't think the default is not from, if I look at it now on negotiating with them, I think DTIC did put a lot of effort into this. I was also part of organized agriculture in structuring a deal and bringing a deal together. So there's a lot of effort that goes into it. However, it's damn difficult to deal with America
Yeah.
because they have their way and how they see it. And they don't budge
Yeah.
that easy on
Yeah.
renegotiating a deal. So difficult. And I think we should not be unfair to our own government.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, I think there is default. The one default is we let go of a good relationship, and you should not. Even though geopolitically you might not see eye to eye, you still could have a good relationship. And I think we let go of that. But I'm confident that we put a lot of effort into this deal to see that we have a deal and have a proposal for them.
As you say, the US has a national interest, and they don't veer from that. But let's go to, it's Friday. It's August 1st. 30% tariffs are now imposed on South African goods. What kind of support does a sector need from the state over the next 12 months to weather this storm, but also alternative markets, ASEAN countries, Gulf states, East Asia? Does that hold the immediate promise for directing some of our particularly citrus and wine exports?
Remember, the whole world is shackled by what is happening in America. So there are different trade deals opening up that never existed before. But there's also a shackle to go for deals. Everybody is looking for an alternative because of what is happening with America. I think what suits us good at this stage, and if I say that, I don't want to be unfair to the citrus people, we still have some time. So if you think of grapes, we're only exporting start to export in October. So there's a bit of a time lag for us in agriculture and certain products to push and see if we can, firstly, cement the deals that we have with the long-standing partners. And you know what? You put a few more into that space, and you would be amazed how much we can put back into that. The second one is, and I think that's where the diversification comes in. Asian tigers is a big one for us as agriculture, and there's a massive need towards that. And from them. So we need to push and make sure that we're in good standing with that. Lester, what we never talk about is nobody spoke about the 25% tariff going into India, into China. We don't speak about the tariffs going into India. I can name it to you. So what we also need to push and put a lot of pressure onto our own negotiators is to make sure that we have more free trade agreements. Because it would benefit us and help us. Maybe just one thing on the American market. Even though we have a 30% tariff, at least we have a market, and it is a lucrative market. You can't walk away from that market. So we should also not walk away if it's 30% and it's stuck. We should keep on with the negotiations. We should keep on with the relationship and make sure that we have a good standing in this deal. I think my understanding from the Americans is they are willing to trade with us. So they
And
understand
make
that.
sure we have a good product to sell so that US consumers, US markets would still say there is a 30% markup, but we would still want South African goods. Johann
Yes, Lester,
Kotze,
and I
really
think we have the capacity to do that.
Johann Kotze, really appreciate your time, CEO of Agri. Let me move to minerals now. Peter Major, mining analyst. Peter, Mineral Resources Minister Gwedi Muntashe is a little bit more bullish. He says we must seek alternative markets. He calls tariff threats bullying. South Africa is the world's largest producer of PGMs, platinum group metals. 76% of mineral exports to the US is made out of PGMs. PGMs are exempt from tariffs, but other commodities, gold, diamonds, iron ore, manganese, coal, they would be hit by tariffs. Is it as easy as Gwedi Muntashe says, let's simply look for new markets to sell our minerals?
Look, it's not so easy, Lester, but it's not so difficult either. South Africa had a lot of experience evading sanctions starting back in 1960, all through the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. And your customers, you have good relationships with a customer. He wants your product. Maybe you got to route it through another middleman. But you don't want to be like Russia. Russia's still selling most of the oil and gas it produces, but they're selling it at a hell of a discount. They're making a lot of middlemen rich, and the country is poor for it. So the whole thing is you want to sell your minerals as directly to the final user as possible. You want to get as much of that profit, that value add, and the buyer, he wants to get it. He doesn't want to have to pay through a couple middlemen. So yeah, Gwetty's making it seem easier than it will be, but it's not cataclysmic. Our mineral industry was well run for 100 years, and it's very diversified. What do we say? 185? There's a 210 countries, I think, on this planet. They're all diversified. What we got to worry about is they're all producing minerals now. Many of them didn't used to. So we're not as dominant as we think. And we don't have specific minerals that people can't get elsewhere. People can get PGMs elsewhere. They might get Russian PGMs at a discount. Now they won't get such a big discount. They'll get it from Zimbabwe. Let's flip the coin a little bit. When America thought uranium was scarce and they needed it, they assisted our gold industry in the 50s. They assisted them building over 30 uranium extraction plants on our gold mines. So that's what happens when you're friends with America. They can write big checks and really help your industry, really help your country, help you add jobs. So instead of saying, how can we handle these sanctions? How do we get around them? We've got to ask yourself, why are we being sanctioned? Why are we paying tariffs? Can't we reverse it so that Americans' government, they're putting money into the Congo now, they're putting money into other places. We got to look at this and be proactive, not always be on the defense.
PGMs are currently excluded from tariffs, but could this change? And how do we secure, and how secure is this exemption, particularly when it comes to our main platinum producers? But also broadly and very quickly, Peter, what impact does it have on the other sectors, the gold, diamond, iron ore mining companies in exporting its goods to the U.S. market?
Well, we don't directly export very many of our other minerals to America. So our base metals that I know of, they don't go to America. We're not exporting any coal to America, any iron ore. We are exporting chrome to America. What I'm worried about is President Trump can start following through and sanctioning people that buy that. It's not sanctions. These are just tariffs. So it's not like he's pursuing who's buying Russian oil and gas because they are under U.S. sanctions. South Africa is not being sanctioned here. They're just paying a tariff because the negotiation here wasn't taken seriously enough long enough in advance.
Johann Kotze, Peter Major, really appreciate your time. We wait and see August 1st. What impact trade tariffs, United States-South Africa relations, what impact that would have.